For life.
See, hey everybody, welcome to the TD Report. I'm your host David Combs here with Jody Coleman. Down below we got TK Tony Kennedy. How you doing, buddy?
What's up, fellas?
What's going
Hey
on?
man, hey, this calls for celebration here in the DC area, baby. Washington Commanders are 2-0. What y'all think about that?
I don't
Not
really
bad.
think about it. You got it. You play two games, you want to win both games. Let's be real. I seen a lot of good things from the Commanders. I saw some things that concern me, but there's not any glaring holes, and it's not just a two-team race in the NFC East. We know we got Dallas and Philly, but I think the Commanders are going to make some noise. Eric Bieniemy really needs to get a lot of credit on some of the play calling that he had. He had went and more commitment to the run. Like I talked to you guys, I talked to Tony, I talked to Dave and Dev and Cody about NFL teams getting away from running the football. And if you look at the majority of the teams that are 2-0 after 2 weeks, they're among the most in attempts, not yardage, but among the most in attempts. If you run the ball, you look at the Atlanta Falcons who are 2-0, you look at the Commanders
Wow.
who really said, you know what? This is what we're going to do. We're going to commit to the run. Robertson is healthy. Let's get him the ball. Let's make him a feature running back in this league. Don't worry about putting in Gibson. Let Gibson play the slot like where he's more natural at. I like what they're doing. They're moving Sam Howell around. You're looking at the receivers. They're getting the ball to Terry McClure, who had a lot of matchups with Patrick Surtain Jr., who I think is still the second, not Jr., which I still think is the best corner in the game. But it showed a lot of resilience coming from 21-3 down on the road in Denver. Very tough place to play.
Now I'm going to go to Tony after this, but let me jump in here. Great stuff, Jody. You brought up a good point. Washington got down 21-3. Now, conventional wisdom would tell you that once you go down 21-3, you start chucking that football.
Right.
Washington didn't do that. Okay? Washington didn't do that. They stayed balanced. They took the shots when they needed to. And I do have to give Sam Howell some credit. That touchdown throw that he threw to Terry McLaurin, that was a dime. Oh my God. He dropped that in over two dudes right down the post, and it was beautiful. Perfect throw. I think if the only problem I have with Sam Howell was, the only thing I don't like about him was Washington didn't play him last year. I thought he would have been just fine last year. Tony, why don't you talk about the Commanders in terms of coming back down 21-3 early on the road in Mile High?
Well, that shows you the maturity of them on offensively, because they stuck to what they thought that could work regardless of the score. And the play calling was outstanding. What they did to getting back into the game. I think with them, I think the issue is going to be for them is, can they stick to the running game? Can their offensive line hold up in our division against some of the best defensive lines in the division, including theirs? If you look at all four teams are really good up front now that Dallas has gotten better up front. Because last year, if you were to rank them, Dallas would have been last up front, with all four defensive lines. Now that Dallas defensive line is, from my man in the middle and then adding Parsons on that side, you got all the defensive lines are pretty good in the NFC East. So it's going to come back to whose offensive line is the best in that thing. Dallas is probably anchored by probably one of the best guards to ever play the game.
He is the best. Zach Martin is the best offensive lineman in the NFL. I said it.
Yeah, he probably is. But what I liked about what the Commanders did is that they didn't fold. They kept the faith, and then they just kept grinding. That game last year would have got out of hand for them. That would have been like the Detroit game. But that shows you the maturity of the team. They kept grinding, and they kept believing. And that was kind of hard to do, to try to go even harder in that air out there in Denver. So that was a great win. And oddly enough, don't be surprised if they beat Buffalo this week.
I mean,
Let's
I wouldn't be surprised because they can run the ball. In Buffalo, that was their problem. If you look at week 1, they struggled. Now week 2, they came back and held Josh Jacobs under he was negative yards for the game. So they really bounced back from week 1. But one thing I know Dave want to jump in here. Eric Bieniemy is showing that he has really made a difference because he knew Denver. He knew what Denver's weaknesses. He'd been facing Denver for 5 seasons, so he understood Denver was soft in the middle. Because if you look at the last 4 seasons, they got rid of one of their best defensive players every year. They got rid of Von Miller. They got rid of Chubb. They got rid of it was a D tackle that they had. I can't remember, but every year they keep dismantling that defense that was really good, and they haven't replaced them. And I think he knew that they're at the Wild. They were in that own altitude. They were going to have a problem stopping the run.
Hey, Tony, are the Bills coming here?
Bills are coming here. Bills Mafia will be local.
Let's give them a shout out.
We may have our man Daryl Talley on the show.
Yeah, let's get Daryl on. That's cool.
To kind of preview us with the Bills and the Redskins. Was that a repeat of what was that, Super Bowl 27?
1991.
Something like that.
Yeah,
91.
91, 92. So I think it was like Super Bowl 27. I think it was. Yeah.
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 You know, when we talk about what Washington did, it's been so long since they were 2-0. I think Devon told us that Rex Grossman was the quarterback the last time the Washington Commanders were 2-0 on a season.
But they need to stop that because last time they were 2-0, they finished 5-11. So
well, wait a minute, Tony. Don't move the goalposts, man. You can't move the goalposts like that.
I'm not. When you say the last time you were a certain record, carry on because you don't want to have that same type of end. Because the last time they was 2-0, that was a little misleading. They beat they beat somebody else. They beat Arizona, and then they end up 5-11. So the last time that they looked this good to start a season is what we need to say. Because that undefeated stuff, they end up having one of the worst seasons because the next year they were so bad that they end up getting RG3. Remember?
They did, but I'm going to go ahead and go with you guys on this one. They're going to handle the Bills. Bills are going to come in here. The Bills are going to come in here. They're going to catch an L. I'm telling you, it's the vibe behind this team. You got Eric Bieniemy doing his job, which is not just doing a great job play calling. He's doing a great job developing Sam Howell. Sam Howell is showing signs of development. You can see him getting better. And I don't mean to bang on the guy too much. We're going to step outside of this game just a little bit. I just want to throw a bonus coverage in here. Guys, what in the hell is happening in Chicago with Justin Fields? He does not look good. He does not look good at all.
Before we get to that, the Commanders, let's go ahead and understand that Eric Bieniemy is on a 5-game winning streak coming over. He just won the Super Bowl. He won his playoff games. So he's won 2 games with the Commanders. When is Eric Bieniemy going to get the credit that he deserves? There's no other coordinator, whether it's offensive or defensive coordinator in the last 5 years that has a better resume than Eric Bieniemy, yet he's still an offensive coordinator and not a head coach. I don't understand what he has to do. He's taking quarterbacks. They didn't want to give him any credit in Kansas City, even though he had 5 straight AFC championship games. He had 3 Super Bowls, and he has 2 Super Bowl victories. He has 2 MVPs out of a quarterback, and you still want to give it to Andy Reid. But guess what? Andy Reid never won none of that stuff until Eric Bieniemy became his offensive coordinator. Now he's in Washington, who had a pedestrian offense for years, because your boy Riverboat Ron has not had a winning season in 5 freaking seasons.
Well, that's going to change this year. I feel you.
He's on
They're going to have a. I'm going to go out and say it. Hold on, this. Sean McDermott has never lost a game to Ron Rivera. Thanks, Hayden. Hayden Denisha said that on the text line. I'm going to tell you what. Sean McDermott's going to get a loss on this one. Count on it. If they're going to lose on Sunday. Now, I'm talking about the Bills. I will say this about Eric Bieniemy. Here's another thing people aren't talking about, Jody. Who's been calling all these great plays here in Washington the last 2 games?
That's
This
what I'm
is Eric
saying.
Bieniemy. This is Eric Bieniemy's offense. He has come in. He has worked with the players. There's been some grumbling here and there. Oh, he's too tough or whatever. Throw that all out the window. Who said winning is the best deodorant? Bill Belichick? Bill Parcells?
Right.
Somebody like that said it, right?
Yeah.
As long as this team keeps winning and keeps putting up points. How many points did they put up on Sunday? Was that 35?
30. They scored 35 points in this game.
35. Okay. So you spot and you give up an 18-point lead. You spot them 21-3, and you come back and win 35-33. Talk to me about this offense. Somebody's calling these plays. We know it's Eric Bieniemy. He's doing a hell of a job. More people need to be talking about that, Mr. Tony. What do you think?
Yeah, I tag on with Jody. Is that Eric Bieniemy? I mean, was he calling the plays last year? Was he not? Was he doing this? Was he not? That quarterback thing that came on Netflix wasn't a good look because they never showed him doing whatever, and they took a lot of credit away from, and I think in life you always find out eventually the truth. Okay, so he comes to Washington. He's in a strong division. The Washington football team is the only football team in the league that has to deal in their division where every team made the playoffs.
Right.
So now you put him in one of the worst positions, although he has pretty good talent. So let's see what happens. Now, my thing is, if Bieniemy takes them to the playoffs this year, if he's the head coach here, or he's going to get a head coach somewhere else. I mean, that's just me. I mean, that's how I look at it. Seeing what he's doing in the improvement of that team offensively. Just looking at them. They don't have the best offensive line. They don't. But they do have some good still. And he has a quarterback is only on his 3rd pro start. So, I mean, it is what it is. I just think the guy's underrated. And to top it off, he was there in the state 30 minutes away from his hometown Buffaloes winning the game. That was a great weekend for Eric Bieniemy.
Before we move on to Justin Fields, one more thing if I add. Let's give a shout out to that defense. They had 7 sacks on Russell Wilson. Chase is chasing that bag. You might him and Sweat both had a sack and a half in that game. Not to mention Payne and Allen did their thing up the middle. But let's shout out this guy,
Sure did.
Emmanuel Forbes, who had a fumble recovery and an interception, covered very well in his first 2 weeks. Like I said, I'm always going to compare that guy to Christian Gonzalez, who was having a tremendous season, in his own right up there in New England. He's at 15 tackles. He has an interception and a sack. So we're going to look at those 2 guys at the end of the year. I want to see what their numbers, if they're similar. Both of those guys are playing tremendous football. I think Gonzalez had win against A.J. Brown, and then last night he had to go against the Cheetah, and the Cheetah did not get off on him. So,
Well, you brought it up.
It's kind of unfair because you're going to look at their cornerbacks are good when you compare them with their front 7. If you look at the Eagles cornerbacks last year, you would have thought they were great because their front 7 was the second best in getting to the quarterback. Right now, Gonzalez does not have a great front 7.
Yes, he does.
It's not great.
Judon was 3rd in the lead in sacks.
He was, but their front 7 is not even close. Their front 7 is not Washington's front 7.
I'll agree with that.
Yeah, but you got it. First of all, they led by Bill Belichick, and you got Wise on that line. You got Matthew Judon, who had more sacks than anybody on that line.
Washington is tied for the league in sacks right now.
Yeah, they played Arizona. I could get a sack on Arizona.
My point is, their front 7, Washington's front 7 is better than New England's front 7.
I get
and they're gonna play less competition because in that damn AFC, he going against a dog every week.
He
Who
done
the
already
two
played.
receivers he
AJ
went
Brown.
against?
AJ Brown, then he had to go against the Cheetah. He had to go against Tyreek Hill, arguably
those
the best
are-
Go
receiver
against
in the league.
Tyreek.
So he's been
All right, hey, for your first 2 games, if your numbers look any close like that for your first 2 games, that's pretty damn good to go against those 2. Shit, who's better than those 2?
But right
Justin
now-
Jefferson.
Justin Jefferson, Martace, guys like that, Devontae Adams.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. I mean,
Terry McLaurin.
so I mean,
Yeah.
that's what I'm explaining.
Got to
You
put
know,
him in
your
there.
front 7 helps the back 4. Is what
You're
I'm
right.
saying. So, you know,
Yeah.
the pressure rate, the sacks, all that helps on any of these corners, safeties, or anybody that depends on jumping for the ball.
You're right.
So we're definitely going to be tracking. We're definitely going to be tracking next week for you guys here on the TD Report. David Combs here with Jody Coleman and Tony Kennedy. Definitely hit the like and subscribe button for us, and also like us on, add us on Spotify if you ever miss a show. That way you can catch the canned show after we're done and Cody's finished chopping it up. Shout out to Cody out there doing, the showrunner. So listen, we got 2 Monday night games tonight. Now there's an interesting link between the Carolina and Saints game tonight with the Washington Commanders. The Chris Olave trade. Tony, Sam Howell came out of that trade. It's not a bad deal for Washington, buddy. And Brian Robinson Jr. came out of that trade. That's what those picks turned out to be.
Wait a minute. First of all,
Think
Lost
we lost
Tony
him.
there.
y'all hear me?
We lost him there for a sec. Go ahead.
They lost those picks. They lost those picks because they gave up for that sorry Wentz. So you don't get credit for losing something and then getting it back. You should have had it in the first place. You shouldn't have given them up in the first place to get Wentz.
TK, all that matters is right now, and it's working now.
Okay, so what matters is you had those picks initially. You gave them up, and then you did something to get them back. So I'm going to use the thing. You start a fire in the house, and then you wake everybody up and save them. You don't get credit for being outside and saying you saved the family. You started the fire. So how you going to get credit?
Well, this is the thing. Nobody knew that Carson Wentz wasn't going to pan out. Nobody didn't know that. So that was
supposed to work. That was supposed to work.
Carson Wentz was supposed to work.
Nobody didn't know that it wasn't going to pan out.
Not for what they gave up. They gave up a little bit to get a lot, and they thought they were getting a lot.
And it turned out to be a qualified disaster.
Some of us who told y'all for years about Carson Wentz told you it wasn't going to pan out. Carson Wentz.
I said it wasn't going to pan out, but I told you.
Okay, so why say nobody said it then?
That was terrible. I didn't think it was going to be catastrophic, though. I thought he would be mid. I didn't think he was going to be like this.
Dave, look up the show when I told y'all, and they was about to play the Bears on Thursday night. And I said that dude is garbage, and y'all was like, "Wait, it's only so many games." I said that dude can't play. I told y'all he couldn't play last year, but
he was terrible.
In retrospect, pull that show up and put it back. But what I want to say is, I understand that, and Tony, I get what you're trying to say, but the in the business world, and you go to Wall Street, they do that all the time. They give up something to get something back. So we can't get mad because they were able to get Sam Howell, and they got a starting quarterback and a starting running back, and both of those guys are really solid.
Yeah, they are solid. But the point is, you had those picks anyway. You gave them up, then you did something to get them back. So you had them in the first place, and you wouldn't have put it like this. If you would have had that, imagine how much better they would have been. They wouldn't even had to go deal with all that. Sam Howell would have been even better than what he is because he would have actually really had to play last year instead of sitting and watching. He would have been a much better quarterback to me by actually, you know what? The game is starting. The game would be extremely slow for him right now. You can see at times that he's
3-0 as a starter.
Huh?
3-0 as a starter.
That's great. But what I am saying is
he
would have taken those lumps.
You talking about the Dallas game last year. My bad. Okay.
He would have taken those lumps that he eventually going to take this season he would have taken them last season.
Well, dig this. He would have never had Eric Bieniemy, and guess what? If he would have played last year, he would have been under another offensive coordinator. So it's good that he's getting a fresh offensive coordinator, getting in his offense. That would have kind of messed him up playing last year under another OC. So it's perfect for him to come under this OC.
Well, when I'm talking about is not only that, it's just the idea of knowing you can do it because the game will be a little slower. Whether you have a different OC or not, live action is live action. Live bullets is live bullets.
Right. I will say this. Go ahead, Jody.
No, I'm gonna say, Dave. Let's make no mistake about Brian Robertson. I mean, that kid right there can definitely be a 1,200-yard rusher, and we see that he's back healthy. And thank God that young man is healthy after the tragedy that he went through last year. But he's back. He's up and healthy. He had 18 carries for 87 yards and 2 touchdowns. And if you look at the majority of his yards, it came in the third and fourth quarter, even when they were down. So the Commanders right now, I still think Riverboat Ron is on the chopping block at head coach. I really still believe that he's going to have to take them to the playoffs. If he does if he has another losing season, check this out. That will be his 6th losing season in a row. He's been coaching for 12 seasons. He only has 3 winning seasons in 12 years. Y'all didn't know that, did you?
That's a shame. But
I've said that a lot.
His seat is warm. It's warm.
Yeah.
It ain't hot. If they hit a losing streak, it's gonna get real uncomfortable for Ron around here. And I think here's what I think is happening. Ron does not want to even be the coach. He wants to be kicked upstairs. Eric Bieniemy should be this team's coach. I'm just gonna put it out. I'm just gonna put that out there in the universe.
That makes sense. That definitely makes sense.
Makes sense to me.
And I like Ron. I don't like Ron as much as a coach as I do a guy that manages certain aspects of the talent. I'm not saying he's a draftnik. I'm not saying he's going to go to camps and spot guys and see who plays and see, do all of that piece of it. But I do like Ron in the building. I do like him being part of our organization of the Commanders. I think he's good for the city. I will say that. But as a game day coach, not so much. He does a good job managing personalities. He's able to do that. And before we get off the Washington piece and then go over to the Browns, because that's where Jody's going to – that's in Jody's wheelhouse. Sports media, and I consider us part of sports media. We go after guys when they're injured, when they're not playing well, and so on and so forth. Hey, man, Chase Young, still our guy, buddy. Always were. Great comeback type of game for Chase Young. 1.5 sacks. He was a menace. He was a problem all day. That's what they were expecting when they drafted him. Thank God he's ready to play. Just stay healthy, kid. Just do what you got to do and push that pile.
Who do you pay, Sweat or Young?
Make it a tough sell, but they can afford both. They can afford both.
No, they can't.
Yes, they can.
Sweat or Young?
You ain't gonna be able to afford all 4 of those guys.
Exactly, Sweat or Young.
Sweat's more reliable. He's in the lineup more. But he's not the pass rusher.
Young has a better upside.
But he's not the pass rusher. We're in year 4 of Chase Young.
Yeah.
He should be in his upside now. But that's
in year 3.
Year 3. He should be in his No, this is his 4th season. Yes.
His 4th season. 20, 21, 22, 23.
Yeah, because he missed the whole season, didn't he?
Yeah.
Most of it. Yeah, he missed most of the season.
Most of last season he missed.
Most of last season
he played it towards the end.
So we need to see from Chase Young. He's already missed 2 games, right? 1 game. He's missed 1 game. He needs to play about 14, 15 games this year.
Yeah,
and then I can probably answer that question.
His rookie year played 15, then 2021 9. Last year only played in 3, and he played in 1 this year. So out of a lot of games
he needs to play more. That's all.
Yeah, he needs to play the whole season. He was rookie of the year. I mean, let's go ahead and say he was rookie of the year. So So if he can come back and play the majority of the season, get you about 11 sacks, it's gonna add, because we know what type of talent this kid is. But if you don't want him, he got room in Cleveland.
Let me tell you something. I'm happy for the guy because he's been around here from when times were kind of rough. He was supposed to help push the franchise up. The franchise is up a little bit of a bump here with the 2 wins. and let's just keep that good stuff going, right? And that's what I want to see. Plus, he's a local guy. You know, he's a DeMatha guy. I want to see him do well. Let's talk about the Monday night game tonight, the game that we really want to see. Pittsburgh and the Browns. Jody, why don't you lead us into that game? Talk about what you think is important, and then me and Tony will jump in and let you know what we think. Go for it.
Well, Tony, the first thing that's important in this Cleveland game is can they sustain the defensive intensity that they had against the Bengals, where they only gave up 3 points to Joe Burrow. But now I'm wondering, was that as good as advertised, because Joe Burrow struggled yesterday against the Baltimore Ravens. But one thing I can say, the key element is the offensive line, of course. Can Cleveland sustain drives and get those 3rd and 4s or 3rd and 6s? Can Deshaun Watson complete passes? He short hopped about 3 to 4 passes last game. I know the ball was wet, but at some point in time, you can't have excuse after excuse after excuse. You need to produce. I want to see a lot more out of Njoku in the middle of the field, because Pittsburgh Steelers will not have Cam Hayward in the lineup, who is a premier D tackle, probably top 5 D tackle in the game. He won't be there. So they do still have TJ Watt, who came off of 3 sacks last game. So you know he's a menace. You got Highsmith on the other side. The key element is when they put Highsmith or Watt against the rookie, DeJuan Jones, the guy from Ohio State that played outstanding last week, but he's going to be a tall task on that right side. Can he protect Deshaun Watson? That's going to be a key element of that game. We already know the coach talk, protect the ball, you win the game. But I'm going to go a little further. They got to make sure that they blitz Kenny Pickett early and often. They need to put him on his back. They need to pressure him. They need to everybody like Kenny Pickett, but Kenny Pickett don't throw a lot of touchdown passes. He don't put a lot of points on the board. So he came off of 7 points. Let's go ahead and attack him. Let's make him very uncomfortable. Move Myles Garrett around. The secondary, they're without Deontay Johnson on Pittsburgh. They won't have him in the lineup either. Let's make sure we stop the run in Harris. And then let's make sure our corner's been playing outstanding. One of the best wide receiver cores in the league. We shut them down. That's the way we're going to win this game.
So
get in there, Tony.
You just said we. Okay. So let's get this straight. Let's get this straight. After watching Pittsburgh, they're not good. And they got too many injuries. And they've been beating Cleveland all these years and everything. Eventually, stuff starts to change. I think Deshaun Watson is going to be back to what I thought he was probably the best quarterback in the league when all that stuff happened. I think when you have the best quarterback and you have the best pure running back, I think those two things start to make a difference. Now, if Cooper's playing, it changes the way they can do a lot of stuff. If Cooper's not playing, it makes it a little tighter. But guys, this game ain't gonna be close. I think it's like 24-10 Cleveland. And I just think the better team now, and I think Pittsburgh is on paper sounded good, but Pittsburgh is really not that good of a team right now. It really pained me to say it, but it really don't, because I don't like Pittsburgh. But I'm just looking at them. I cheer for Tomlin. I try to cheer for the African-American coaches too, because they're far and few between. But to be honest, I think Deshaun Watson and Chubb and with Amari Cooper puts them in the class in the league of, let's name the triplets who are better. I mean, how many quarterbacks at peak is better than Deshaun Watson? How many running backs at peak is better than Chubb? And how many receivers is better than Cooper? And you put all three, and then that, to me, they got a top 5 tight end. So when you start putting those things together, i.e., that's why Cleveland was one of my teams, one of my 4 teams that I picked. Seattle was another one. I had the Jets before your boy got hurt, and Detroit, because I was looking at different things of all these different teams got good running backs, they got quarterbacks that's hot. And this game is not going to be close tonight.
Before
Watson-
I know, Dave, you want to jump in. Before you jump in, I got a couple things I want to say about that. First of all, you do realize Deshaun Watson was drafted in the same draft class with Patrick Mahomes. But anyway,
I do realize that, and
and
I realize that Huda passed up on them and took Trubisky, and I told people that was the worst decision probably in draft history to take Trubisky over Watson and Mahomes.
I mean, it's very bad, but I just wanted to let you know because you said you thought he was the best quarterback and he got drafted the same class as Patrick Mahomes. I just want to make sure everybody understands.
I actually think for what he had with all these different coaches, when he didn't have anyone, Watson balled, dude. He balled. With nobody, no guru and Andy Reid, no guru and this person and that person. He been on the island by himself balling. That's a ball player.
But this is what I want to say. You keep telling you, I don't want nobody to think this is going to be a blowout. The reason being, first of all, it's a divisional game. And one thing, when you the big brother and you've been kicking your little brother's butt, sometimes that little brother can't get over that stigma. I've been a Browns fan for almost 40 years, and I can remember as many times, I can count them on my two hands how many times I can remember beating the Steelers. We get our heads beat in, especially since they came back in existence. We've been getting our head beat in. No matter we the favorite or not, somehow they get up for this game. So I'm not gonna be arrogant and be like, oh, it's gonna be a blowout. No, because they are still the Steelers, the same team that right there, the same team we lost to at the end of the year last year with Deshaun Watson at quarterback. So I think we can win it. I just don't think it's going to be a blowout. And no disrespect, I think, Tony, if it is, trust me, I'm happy about
Blowout to me means I think it's a 2-possession game. That's a blowout in these Roberts.
I don't know if it's going to be that.
Ed Tomlin, you need to give us a call, man. We need to talk, buddy. Get back.
Ed been running away since they lost to the Redskins in 2020.
Ed, we ain't heard from Ed. We ain't heard from Ed in a while, man. We need to talk to Ed. Ed, we still love you, baby. Give us a call. Hey, man, I don't want to do this and not give a shout out to our Ravens fans out there, our Ravens collective. Hey, man, congratulations. Y'all are 2-0. Lamar Jackson doing okay, looking healthy out there. I want to bring up one thing about this. We look back, let's roll the clock back about 16 months. Everyone in Baltimore was gunning for Lamar Jackson. Get him out of here. He's not good enough. He's not worth the money. Don't give the money. If he wants to sit out, let him sit out. All of this stuff. Winning is the best deodorant. Nobody's saying that in Baltimore. They up there eating their crabs and they obey wings and loving it.
I'm not going to allow you to get away with that. Those people in Baltimore are the worst fans I have ever seen in my life. The treatment that they have done to somebody like Lamar Jackson, who's always just been just the best person, always giving with the kid. Man, the people in Baltimore, and I told you, I'm happy that Lamar is winning and he can go whatever. And just to be honest, what they did, and I followed all their forums. I followed their fans. I followed a whole bunch of stuff coming into the team and all these regular sites. Man, it was borderline racist stuff that they were doing with Lamar Jackson, which is, to me, awful. I mean, it was borderline racist stuff. And
Tony,
they knew that he never had no help. Lamar never had no real help there. He never had no Zay Flowers. He never had no Beck. Hell, his running back has been hurt the last 4 years since Ingram got hurt.
Yeah.
I mean, and y'all sat there for this kid who was doing, and he only making a little bit more than Daniel Jones. Man, these people need to stop with that crap.
Can I say something? Because Baltimore basically took my team, took my championship, took Ray Lewis. I talked to Ray Lewis at the Hall of Fame, and he said he would have been Cleveland's first draft pick. He would have been a Cleveland draft pick. We never moved. I got it on tape. If y'all want to bring it up, Tony, you're my witness. What'd he say? Ray Lewis out his own mouth said he would have been the first pick for the Browns. So, yeah, I'm not going to let y'all slide either, Baltimore. I'm going to tell you why. Because Lamar, I'm a blind. Let's talk about some numbers. You know I love numbers. If any quarterback was throwing 74.5% completion, what would you say about him? You'd be like, oh, my God, he's amazing, right? Lamar Jackson is 74.5% completion percentage this year. For his career, he's 47-16 as a starter.
That's insane.
47-16. And like Tony said, when have they really put some significant pieces around him? When? He's been in the league for his fifth year. Fifth year, right?
Yep.
6 year, going on 6 year. When have you named a running back that they drafted in the first round for him? They didn't. They got the receivers that they got. Bateman, I like Bateman, but let's be honest. Bateman they could have got him in the second or third round. Let's be honest. What I want to say is, for his career, a unanimous MVP. He has 12,615 yards, 103 touchdowns to only 39 interceptions. Those are Aaron Rodgers type of numbers. And we're just talking about passing. Let's go to rushing for a second, if I may. I got time? Do I got time, fellas? Because let's talk about the running aspect of it. Because I want to hear every excuse that they got known to man.
Jody got receipts. Jody got the receipts.
The rushing, this man has 4,529 yards rushing. That's almost 1,000 yards rushing per season. There's running backs in the NFL that can't say that. He also has, over that, he also has 24 rushing touchdowns to go along with his 103 passing touchdowns. And y'all wanted to get another quarterback? When let's put in perspective, Tony. Let's put in perspective, Dave. Guess what? It's the guy named Daniel Jones that barely makes more money than. Daniel Jones averaged 15 touchdowns and 9 interceptions per season. Okay? His record as a starter is 21, 32, and 1. He's been sacked 156 times.
He's terrible.
So his passing yards is 11,707 total yards passing. He's never had a season where he had 3,200 yards or passing or more. But he's considered as a passing quarterback. But Lamar Jackson, who averaged more yards and more touchdown passes and less interceptions, is considered a running back. Get out of here with that crap. Man, get out of here, man.
Daniel Jones is terrible.
Get out of here with that, man.
I'll say this. They talk about certain deals in quarterbacking where you say they're trying to set the market. There's other deals that you look at them and you say to yourself, what in the heck was that? That's the Daniel Jones deal. What is that deal? 4 years, 160? Is that right?
Yeah, it's
4
ridiculous.
Years? It was 4 years, 140, 4 years, 160?
Yeah, something like that. I know he's making a boatload of money.
Terrible. Nah. Once I saw that deal, I said, oh, Lord, there's no way he can live up to that. There's no way. No freaking way. So, we watched the Giants.
Jesse.
We watched the Giants play in what I call the Caleb Williams Bowl against the Cardinals, where the Cardinals looked like they weren't trying to throw the game at one point. They were up big, and then the Giants came back. The Giants came back and messed it up, so they won't get. The Giants ain't getting the first pick, but they're gonna be bad.
I just talked to Tony just early today about this. If you watch the game, because I got my son here, we going over film. They were up 20-0 at halftime. At that point, the Giants have been outscored 60-0. At that point, they've been outscored in 6 quarters, 60-0. So let's put that in perspective. Second half, if you watch the way the Arizona Cardinals played the second half, it looked like they was giving that game away. They stopped running the ball.
Oh.
Connor had I think 75% of his yards in the first half. They stopped running Connor. They started doing dumb stuff. I'm like, what are they doing? They started, kind of looked like they was playing Madden and they was just trying to trick it off. And that's what they did, because they were like, man, we ain't supposed to be up 20-0. Everybody wanted to be like, well, Daniel Jones, what a comeback. They were playing Arizona, man. Name one player outside of Buda Baker on Arizona's team.
Can't do it.
Zach Ertz.
Okay, that's one. On the defense, name another defensive player on that team.
On the defense, he can't do it.
Outside of Buda Baker.
Mm-hmm.
I'll wait.
Can't do it.
I got time tonight.
I just saw him play last week.
I'm not Googling that. So
I'm just saying.
You got it.
Hello,
Arizona's terrible.
Hello, Arizona. You just played the Giants. Now here comes Dallas coming into town.
Dallas gonna do it. It's gonna be like week 1 against the Giants. It's gonna be even worse. It's gonna be bad.
Dallas worried me just a smidge, just a little. but they handled aside from one play, one play to Garrett Wilson, Dallas, that game was not as close as even the 30-10 says it was. It wasn't even that close.
Because I know we want to. I ain't got much time, and I want to talk about the Colorado game. But what impressed me, guys, is the way that they were getting the ball to CeeDee Lamb early and often. They didn't care that they had a great defense. He had 11 catches in that game, and 10 of them, he only got 1 catch on
yards.
Yep.
Yeah, 130 yards.
143 yards. And only one catch was on Sauce, and I love the way they made it where he went away from Sauce, and they went after DJ Reader a lot in that game. So that's showing me like the competency of an offensive coordinator of understanding that Sauce Gardner is a top 3 corner in the game. Let's not play with that dude because he had a pick 6 in his hand. Remember, Tony?
He did. Yeah, he dropped it.
He dropped it. So
Jody, what the biggest thing that happened in the Dallas game, and nobody talking about, is not their offense, not their defense. Dallas got a whole bunch of confidence for the worst part of their game is kicking. The guy got 5 field goals. So that right there, that new kicker got 5 field goals. That right there may be the difference of them going to Vegas or going back home as usual.
Whoa,
because all things are equal.
Pump your brakes. Pump
the
your
quarterback.
Brakes, Tony. Pump your brakes.
Hey, listen. The only
Pump
reason why I ain't pump my brakes is because Dallas ain't playing, to me, they ain't playing well offensively. They playing okay. They didn't have who I think is going to be a good target in your boy Cooks. They stalled inside, but the Jets defense is really good. When they really pick it up on offensively to match that stuff that they do on defense, I'm not afraid of these teams because, see, I thought the best pure team is San Francisco. I still think the best team in the league is San Francisco until proven different. I think San Francisco is the best in the NFC until we play them on October 8th. I'm not going to say we're better than them because we haven't beaten them.
Big game.
Hey, Dave. Tony say this all the time. He ain't scared of them, and I always say, I done seen people ain't scared get their ass knocked out.
Yeah, well, you're going to have to really knock us out this year.
I'll say this about the Dallas. This game against the Jets, last year, Dallas would have probably won that game, but they probably would have won it. They would have won it probably around 17-10, 20-10. The difference in that team is what Tony said, is that they're getting themselves in position to get at least 3 points. Last year, they weren't able to drive the ball enough. Even when they turned teams over, they weren't able to drive the ball enough to get the 3 points. You got to get points. It's all about now, the NFL is metrics. It's all about points per possession, okay? And teams are not sitting out here. There's only 1 or 2 teams in the league that they don't care how you play. For example, Kansas City Chiefs, they're going to put up 7s, okay? Deal with that. There's nothing you can do about it. If you want to play a defensive game, they can beat you that way. If you want to play sandlot football, you want to go up and down the field, they can definitely beat you that way. So they're a very tough team to deal with, but you don't worry about that team yet. You worry about the teams in your division. Like Tony would say, you worry about your division first. Then you worry about your conference. You worry about your conference. Then you worry about your Super Bowl opponent. But if you can't deal with your division, you ain't going anywhere. If you can't deal with your conference, you're definitely not going to Vegas.
While we are there, so this word can go out to all you who think you know this game. Parsons is the best football player in the NFL. He has played all 7 positions on that front 7 in the defense these first 2 games and has dominated from pressures to tackles to sacks to batted balls to forced fumbles to recovered fumbles. He is everywhere, all over the field.
Had a hell of a game yesterday.
I would agree that he's the best defensive player, but to say he's the best player, I still have some trepidations on that. Defensively, I think so. Now, the problem that I have with that is he played against 2 very bad offensive lines. I'm not going to take anything away from what he did, but that Jets offensive line is atrocious. That Jets offense, look, when Aaron Rodgers played, Dave, check this out. Aaron Rodgers played 4 snaps. He got pressured on 3 and sacked on 1, and the other one he got hurt.
So why didn't Buffalo take advantage of it?
I'm just saying, no, I'm not taking anything away because they get paid to do what they do. So if you go out there against somebody to get paid for what they do, I'm going to give Marcus Parsons credit. But what I'm trying to say is let's pump it a little bit. I do think he's the best defensive player, but I want to see if he can do it against the 49ers. And I don't want to be
Can't wait.
I don't want to be that.
Oh, you
guy.
talking about the 49ers when he threw the dude up in the crowd? That 49er team when he was out there killing them dudes?
He said he
and they've been trying to he threw the damn dude in the crowd, the damn tackle.
Listen,
Man, y'all, listen,
listen,
dog.
Mark Brown's about
people can hate Dallas all they want, but the idiots who say Parsons ain't that, they are idiots and they can't. You don't deserve to talk to me about football because remember, for everybody who want to talk shit, I actually played on that level. Played. And that ain't for my people on the TD report because I respect their shit. But when you want to talk, I actually fucking signed a contract and played on that level. Played, got knocked in the mouth, tasted my blood. I played on that level. So when everybody, stop the hatred shit. When the player's good, say they good. Other than that, you sound like a damn idiot.
Well, let's talk about this, Tony. I really gotta jump on this before we get too late. I'm sorry, Jody. Let me
my
do
Browns
this.
about to play. TikTok.
Your Browns about to. Well, if you need to jump off, wait a minute. That kickoff.
I know. I ain't care about no Browns and Steelers. We good. We good.
Jody,
I'm watching my Saints.
Jody, that kickoff ain't until 8:17, man.
Hey, you see that? Hey, Dave, you see that?
Yeah, I see it. Come on, Jody.
Look, hey,
come on,
this
man.
about my favorite player all the time right here.
I know that. Oh, man, Jody, you a mess, man. You terrible. Listen, Tony, you talked about being a guy that you've gone out there and got hit in the mouth playing professional football.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Let's talk about this University of Colorado game. Let's talk about Colorado State. Little bit of trash talk back and forth before the game. You know, they got on the logo, you know, the coaches, the players. There was a hit in that game on Travis Hunter, 5-star wide receiver and cornerback from Colorado. Everybody can go back and look at the replay. I never played football at that level, but the way I was taught was if that ball is past the guy and he can't catch it no more, you ain't supposed to hit him like that. He now has a lacerated liver and will be out a minimum of 3 weeks. Tony, what did you think about that hit?
So, Dave, let me put it into perspective. Hey, Jody.
Please.
Jody, Dave's first year at UVA. Dave's first and second year at UVA, those are probably some of the best UVA teams in history. I can honestly say, every year that we played UVA, they had a better roster than us in all 4 of my years because we were on probation. So they were deeper. So the reason why we were 1-3 against them, but here's the thing. If you ask them after the game, how did they feel? Oh, they better be glad it was close to Thanksgiving because they got the rest. Because we was putting in work and putting the wood in. That's why when you got these rivalry games, you better strap it up because I am telling you, what you're not looking at is Colorado State was bringing the wood that night. They was hitting everybody out there. They didn't care. Now, what I think happened, I think they put a bounty out on your boy. And I think it was such a blatant hit to do that to risk his career. We never did that. Now, we didn't like each other, but we wouldn't do Bush League stuff. And it's what I think they did. And if they investigate this coach, he need to be suspended for a year. And that player scholarship need to be taken away because you put that guy's life on the line by doing some punk stuff. That was punk stuff. And we don't do punk stuff when you're playing football.
What do you think, Jody? Did you see the hit?
Listen, I saw the hit. And to a point, I knew as soon as he did it, because I was covering the UC game. I got home right at the end of the second half. And when they replayed the hit, I had to look at it from different angles. And that looked like it was completely intentional. Do y'all remember when Florida was playing against Oklahoma in the championship game a few years ago?
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Major Wright said, look, I could have picked that ball off easy. He didn't want to. He wanted to send a message. He lit that wide receiver up. And back then they didn't really have the targeting call like they had now. I thought that was a textbook reason, a textbook targeting. I think he should have been suspended immediately for targeting, and I think that he should have been investigated immediately because not only did Tony said it, not only you put that guy's life at risk, he also put his NFL career at risk. He may not, just because he out 3 weeks. Sometimes you never really recover from a lacerated liver. You know, he may not. What if Travis Hunter can never play again? I want to make sure that with camera phones out here that they didn't record that Bounty Gate. Remember Bounty Gate with your boy Greg Williams was guys going after guys.
Yeah.
If you want to go back further than that, when the Houston Oilers, when Philadelphia and the body bag game and stuff like that, we talked about that on the show with Brian Mitchell. The thing that I have a problem with is I understood the intensity. I understood it's an in-state. Those are guys that didn't get an opportunity to go to Colorado. Let's be real. If you go to Colorado State, it's probably because you couldn't get into Colorado, and that was when it was 1-11. So they feel like they feel slighted. Those guys are 2- and 3-star recruits, and they feel like I'm just as good as those guys. But Dave, you said something very important. They had 10 personal fouls. That probably cost them a game. That's 150 yards of offense that they lost because of penalties, because of emotion.
And the loss of the down. Yeah.
And the loss of down. So I listen, I understand about playing hard and trying to win a game, and you out there, your coach went on the line. That guy Blackburn, like I said, I never want to see somebody lose a scholarship because it's bigger than football, and I want that young man to get his degree. But I think it was somebody sent him on that mission.
And that's not cool.
That looked like a mission type of hit. That's a mission.
This is what I don't like about certain parts of our media. And again, I put myself in there as media. The media is not asking the right questions right now. Okay? They're not asking the right questions. The right question needs to be posed to their coach, to Jay Norvell. That needs to be the question directly to him. Okay? He wanted his 15 minutes of fame. They're not going to ask that, and that's not right. They have to ask that question because it needs to be asked.
They're not going to ask it because you're going to put him in a position that he may have to lie.
Then he needs to lawyer up. He needs to get his athletic department needs to lawyer up, and
Yep.
they need to be asked these types of questions. Let's say, for example, that hit isn't at Travis Hunter's chest. What if he hits him in the neck or the head? Now we're talking about a head or neck injury, a possible spinal injury. You're going to tell me Jay Norvell is going to take his hat and his sunglasses off and say, I'm not answering that question? I thought his mama raised him better than that. He needs to answer these questions. And by the way, before anyone says I'm talking about people's mamas, he's the one that brought mamas into this. So that's the only reason. He said his mama raised him right. Why are his guys out there gooning it up on national television, and you as a coach are talking about poise?
Hold on.
Poise? He can't even spell the word.
2 things before Tony. I know you want to rebuttal on that. 2 things. One, hey, you know that Jay Norvell had a hat on in his press conference. I'm just you just said that you don't wear glasses or a hat, and he had a hat on in his press conference. I want to throw that out. There's one.
Hey,
and then 2.
He's a clown.
And then 2, at the end of the day, man, those kids played an amazing game, and you took the spotlight off of the kids and put it on yourself. And that's what I didn't like. And then you ducking every question that's being asked. I don't like that.
Jody, I wanted to tackle that. Folks, Colorado State came to play. So let's not get that twisted on anything that I am saying. Colorado State was prepared. They came to play. Now, were they as talented as Colorado this year? I don't think so. But they came to play, and they played hard. But the dirty part eventually cost them the game. And Dave is right. They're not asking the right questions. They need to ask those questions. They're not going to ask them those questions. And it took away from probably one of the best games we're going to see all
Hell of a
year.
game.
And then, lastly, you see this sign right here, this crab bowl sign? I can be biased towards our kids. That's me being biased towards my game. But right now, folks, I cannot be biased. If I am looking at quarterbacks and I'm looking at what it takes, I am telling you right now what Shedeur Sanders did from 98 yards to tie the game and to take the
Beautiful.
game in overtime with everything that was on the line. That is some Tom Brady-ish. That's some Joe Montana-ish. That's some John Elway-ish type stuff that he pulled in his third game on the D1 Dump 1A level. Third game in a rivalry game at home with all that pressure. Man, listen, he is going to have a hard decision, and I've been going back and forth with Jody. He's going to have a hard decision on whether he stays because, guys, whether you believe it or not, Colorado ain't going to really have to struggle against good defenses because they don't play the Big Ten and they don't play the SEC. So they're going to see a lot of these wide open games. So you're not going to be seeing him throw for 150 yards and this and that. No. He's going to be throwing for 300 and 400-yard games for the rest of the damn year. So we're going to be talking about that soon.
I got him as my Heisman right now. I got him number 1 in my Heisman. Hey, I'm about to log off because them Browns about to kick off.
We got you. Me and Tony will close it up for you.
Yeah, we'll close it up.
I'll see y'all Thursday, man. Peace.
Hey, thanks, Jody. Hey, stick with us here on the TD Report. It's me and Tony going to overtime. We're going to close this up. Tony, you brought up a great point about Shedeur Sanders. The maturity.
Yes, sir.
The ability.
Yes, sir.
And the leadership. He had all 3 of those things. Nobody in the media is talking about that, Tony, but we are. We're talking about it. Shedeur Sanders showed me so much in that game on Saturday night. And by the way, it's a Saturday night. We're at a casino. We're hanging out. We're doing whatever. Why are we watching Colorado play football?
Till 3 in the morning almost.
Yeah, why?
It was what?
You see what I'm saying? And it goes 2 overtimes, and people are literally, Tony, glued to their TV set, glued to their handheld, glued to their iPad. Hey, man, I'm going to hit you, Matt. I'm going to hit you right back. I'm
Dave,
watching this Colorado.
What was the ratings on that game, Dave? What did they say?
I haven't been able to see them yet, but they did a big number, I can tell you that. The other thing I thought also, Tony, you brought up about Colorado State's players, 2- and 3-star guys. I saw 2 or 3 dudes on their defense that I would like to have on my team. I'd love UVA. I'll tell you what, let UVA get that Kamara guy. We could turn him loose in the ACC.
That edge
that dude is a ball player.
Is a beast.
That's a ball player. Let
wide
UVA
receiver,
get him. Huh?
The wide receiver is a ball player.
I'll take 2 of their wide receivers. They're both good. I love it. They're running back. I'll take whatever they got because guess what? That whole offensive line that they have, those are all transfers.
Yeah.
They got them pushing the pile and doing what they're supposed to do. Hey, guess what, Tony? I even like the quarterback. He ain't bad. He threw the pick six. He threw the pick 6 to Shiloh Sanders. Hey, shout out to the number 1 son. But I'll tell you what, he threw some dimes. That dude can play. So I take nothing away from Colorado State. I will say this. If they don't commit as many of those personal fouls as they do, I think they win that game. I think they win it. But my point is going to always be dependent on this is your turn. Styles make fights. Colorado State had to turn it into that for them to stay in that game.
Yes, they did.
Colorado wants to play games clean because they have to. But Colorado State, the only way they can do that is to muck it up and try to get what they were trying to do, Tony, and tell me if I'm wrong. They were trying to get Colorado to get outside of themselves and start brawling. They wanted them to brawl. That's what they wanted.
If you've been watching Winning Time, the thing about the Lakers was running away with the 84 championship series until the Celtics turned it into a backyard brawl. And when they turned it into a backyard brawl, they weren't worried about playing football or basketball no more. They were worried about fighting. And once you do that, then the team that wanted you to turn it into the background ball, they won. Because now you're not worried about executing. You worried about getting back at somebody. You worried about doing this. You planning the thing. So even though they basically accomplished that, Colorado not only won the game, but I think they won in psychological because now they know when this happens in conference, they now know how to react. Remember, life is and games are teachable moments. That was the biggest teachable moment with all that pressure on them, how they came back and they just kept coming. Because in all reality, they should have lost that game. They're supposed to be 2-1. But
you talked about the Virginia Tech games, okay? And a guest that we've had on our show, our boy, Sean Moore, UVA quarterback, Heisman candidate, our guy. Let's say over near the UVA sideline, somebody takes a big shot at Sean Moore stepping out of bounds. George Welsh was a great coach. I don't think he could have kept those guys from doing something. You see what I'm saying? When somebody takes a shot at your guy right on your sideline, remember, Colorado's guys didn't even come off the chalk, Tony. They stayed right where they were. Guess what that is, Tony? That's coaching. That is coaching.
Colorado is well coached. What people
Discipline.
not getting from Deion, they see all the flash, they see all this, but Deion has got that team humming, and they are well coached.
I appreciate that, Tony. Nobody's talking about this. This team is consisted of a bunch of guys from Jackson State, so they're FBS guys out of the transfer portal, and the leftover guys from a 1-11 team last year. And people are telling me, oh, well, TCU was terrible. They should have beat them. With a bunch of transfers from FBS, from FCS, I don't think so. With a bunch of guys off the team that were 1-11 last year, I don't think so. So. Travis Hunter's a 5-star. So what? He only plays 2 positions, and he can only play one at a time. So don't tell me that Colorado has a lot of talent. They don't.
Hey, Dave, the hate is real. There's 2 things that people hate. The hate is real. Is they cheer against Deion, and they want Dak to throw interceptions. And
you had to work that in there, huh?
Yeah, because the hate is real. When you read and you see this stuff constantly, the hate is real, dog. It really is, man. The hate is real. I mean, it's cheering against something instead of enjoying it and enjoying the process. Look, I wanted Colorado to win, but I'm glad Colorado State showed up.
That was a great game.
And that tight end for Colorado State, that catch he made was probably one of the best catches you're going to see all year. Now, the walk.
They have a 31-year-old kicker with 3 kids. How can you dislike these? It's hard to dislike a team like that. He's 31 and got 3 kids, bro.
But you know what? He's 31 with 3 kids. What they probably didn't tell you, the man is probably Mormon, and BYU and Colorado and Utah and those areas like that. They have players on their team like that, who are older, who went and did missions and stuff like that. But, hey, man, at least he ain't going to be 40 and 50 regretting that he never took his shot at playing in the damn college or whatever.
Hey,
I got one for you. Michigan is recruiting Tom Brady to finish his last year of school. And it's legal.
Lord. No, it ain't.
Yes, it is. He has 1 year eligibility left. Tom Brady
can go right back to Michigan. He's not an amateur. Come on, Tony.
No, it doesn't go anymore. J.R. Smith proved that. He went and played golf.
Yeah, but, Lord, it's not the sport. You can't play the same sport you were a pro in.
Tom Brady can go back right now and finish his 1 year of school and got 1 year eligibility left in the NCAA.
Tom, just raise them damn kids. Raise your damn kids, boy.
Can you imagine
right.
if somebody did that?
Tom Brady, drive them kids to soccer practice, man.
I know.
Terrible. Hey, guys.
Say, man, some people
Tony says that the hate is real, but we love everybody that watches our show, everybody that likes and comments. We appreciate you so much. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. If you need to miss a show, hit us on Spotify. Definitely add us on Spotify so that you can see all of our shows after Cody gets done chopping them up. Tony, you ready to watch this game, right?
Read what I put down. Dallas is for real.
Oh,
So
okay.
I don't.
All right,
I
everybody. We're going to be back on.
I don't want to hear the crap about how they gonna do in January, because I'm telling you what, we're gonna stop them ham and cheese offense from San Francisco and Philly. And when we
Lord.
stop that run, you're gonna have to throw it to us, and we're gonna turn our dogs loose. And when our dogs get turned loose on these offensive lines and these dudes, beware. I'm telling you right now, I'm confident because their defense is really good and their offense hadn't done anything yet.
Hey, guys,
Beware.
everyone, we love you. From the TD Report, everyone have a great week. Tony, you have a great week. And Thursday, we're going to be back.
We'll be back. See you guys.
Appreciate y'all. Enjoy the games tonight. Great show.
So long, folks.